The October 14th, 2025 regular meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors is hereby called to order. We will begin with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Shahoops people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. In Everett Public Schools, we strive to create equitable outcomes and build a culture of inclusive belonging for all students, teachers, staff, and the community. Thank you. Next, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you are willing for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you have a hat on, please remove it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That takes us to the roll call. Will the secretary please call the roll?
President Mitchell.
Present.
Vice President Herman.
Present.
Director Evelinsky.
Present.
Director Adkins. Director Jackson Lawrence.
Present.
Student Representative Covarrubias.
Present.
Student Representative Dewing.
Present.
Thank you. That takes us to section 5.0, adoption of the agenda. Dr. Saltzman, were there any changes to the agenda after it was published?
Yes, Madam Chair, since publishing the following, changes have been made. Item 7.01, the superintendent's report, the presentation was updated. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any objection to the meeting agenda being adopted by general consent? Seeing none, the agenda is adopted by general consent. That takes us to really our favorite part of every meeting, and I'm so glad this is the first one of the year, our recognition, which is the September Core Value Champions, Ms. Weinberg.
Good evening, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, and Superintendent Saltzman, as well as our student representatives. We are excited to be launching again our Core Value Champions. Each school in our district has chosen a student to honor around the core value of respect. Their names are displayed on our website for recognition. This evening, though, we are grateful to have core champions representing 4 of our schools. The principal from each of these schools is here with their students, and we're so happy to have them here with us. I'm going to kindly request principals when I call you up to do your presentation and then just step to the side. And when we're all done, we'll take a big group photo. And families, you're welcome to come up here and take all the photos you want as well. And so with that, we're going to recognize the students today in this order. We're going to begin with Darren Larma from Jackson Elementary, and then we'll go to Marty Sheffield at Penny Creek Elementary, and then Jack Roy will bring up the endings for both Port Gardner Parent Partnership and Sequoia High. Again, thank you for your attention and support to our students' achievements.
Right. All right, thank you, President Mitchell, Board Directors, and Dr. Saltzman. I am Darren Larma, the proud principal of Jackson Elementary, and it is my privilege to introduce you to a wonderful Jackson Silver that truly embodies our district's core value of respect. This is Carter Coleman, a 4th grader at our school. Carter, whether he's engaged in learning in the classroom or having fun with peers on the playground, Carter consistently shows respectful behavior. He listens attentively when others speak, and he treats his classmates and teachers with kindness. His actions reflect a deep understanding of how important it is to make others feel valued. One moment that really stood out to his teacher was during a recent class election. Carter narrowly missed winning by 1 vote, and instead of feeling discouraged or upset, he immediately congratulated the student who won. That simple gesture spoke volumes about his maturity and his deep respect for his peers. Carter reminds me that demonstrating respect is a choice that we get to make every day in every interaction. His respectful choices and character strengthens the Jackson School community, and I'm proud to celebrate him as our core value champion for respect.
Good evening, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Salzman, student representatives, and guests. I'm Marty Shavlin, proud principal of Penny Creek, and I am so grateful for this opportunity to celebrate one of our amazing students. Evelyn Ortiz is a fifth grader at Penny Creek, and she is our school's core value champion for showing respect. Since she began in kindergarten at Penny Creek, Evelyn has demonstrated kindness, respect, and genuine interest in others every single day. We get the privilege of seeing her walk into campus every day, and she will give you the look that shows she's just so interested. And her teachers have all commented on how she shows that consistently, day in and day out, for 6 years, well, almost 6 years. Evelyn is always speaks kindly, listens genuinely to others, and offers support if someone's having a bad day. She is genuinely worthy of the core value champion, being the core value championship winner for respect. I think that's what I'm gonna say.
President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Salzman, I get to be the proud principal of Port Gardner, proud principal of Sequoia. So let me start with Port Gardner. Claire Covey, fifth grader, is our core value champion for respect for this month. Kind of started an argument at Port Gardner because all of her teachers wanted to say nice things about her. So here's what they came up with. Claire is hardworking, dedicated student who is always respectful to peers, students, and parents. Claire is a quiet student who not only observes, but also always does the right thing. She is helpful, kind, and respectful in all she does. She is a student who has worked hard to be an active participant at school, which has allowed her to be a good friend and leader. So it's my pleasure to introduce Claire Covey. I also get to introduce from Sequoia, Tristan Chavon, right? Last names are, we don't always use them. So Tristan, I actually got to nominate Tristan, which I don't always get to nominate somebody because of the process we use. But, and it's kind of hard because Tristan embodies a lot of the core values. So separating them out. He is somebody who walks into school every single day as an example of respect. He says good morning to everybody in the office. He welcomes everybody who is coming in. He demonstrates his respect through interactions with staff, students, and just everybody who is around there. I think the biggest thing that he is that he is involved in helping change the perception of what an alternative school student is. And he does that through the respect that he shows everyone. So it's my honor to introduce Tristan Chavon.
We're going to have you all come up here for a photo, and Dr. Salzman, the board, keep it all squeezed in. And parents, you are welcome to come up here and snap away, families, friends. We have some high school students who don't have your.
Congratulations.
So you just come over this way if you need to.
He's taller than the teacher by a little.
Let's scooch this way
Switch
now.
this way. As long as we can be on either side of Darren.
So sorry, excuse me.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Go, go, go.
And I.
Keep smiling. You're great. Keep it going.
Excuse me.
Get it? Yeah. Okay, I think we got it.
good.
Thank you, everyone. Congratulations.
And families, there is no reason to stay. As much as we'd love you to stay, enjoy this beautiful autumn evening. Thank you. And congratulations, students. Okay. So that takes us to section 7.0, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Saltzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and to our student representatives tonight, and to our public, thank you for this opportunity. First of all, what a beautiful October evening. Thank you for coming out, and what a beautiful October month. Love fall and love fall baseball, so let's get excited about that. On Friday, October 10th, our system engaged in a day of learning focused on equity, the entire system. The three main segments of that day were culturally responsive customer service, equity, embedded in the Danielson Framework for Certified Staff, which we call TPEP, and building for departments of planning all days equity learning that our system engaged in. And I want to tell you, it was a fantastic day. Want to compliment Ms. Mimi, Ms. Joy, Dr. Scott, and the entire senior staff, principals and leaders, and the entire district teachers and everybody that helped make this happen. So really was beneficial, and we're a model for other districts to follow with that. And I want to again thank everybody for an amazing opening day that we've had, which led us to the start of our instructional review process, which is off to a fantastic start this year. You see the leadership in our schools, teams, and teachers doing amazing work for our students. These include classroom visits, data analysis, collaborative discussions, focusing on student growth. So we're very impressed and very proud of what our youngsters and our professional staff are accomplishing every day. Want to share with everybody that we, Everett Public Schools, is hosting WASA 109, the Legislative Forum, here at our district office on October 23rd. This important event will bring together legislators and school district leaders to collaborate, align priorities, address key challenges, and explore innovative solutions that will support our student outcomes and growth. And we'll be hosting here with our legislators, so we're very, very proud of that. And then I want to end my report tonight with a reminder to our public that there'll be an upcoming International Baccalaureate Diploma Program Information Night coming. It will take place on Thursday, October 23rd at Cascade High School in their library. We're very excited about being in candidacy for this program and eager to provide this opportunity for our students. Again, we're looking forward to it. We're in the candidacy phases. We'll have it October 23rd, hosted at Cascade High School, which will be housing the IB program, and that meeting will take place again in their library. I want to thank everybody for their support. Wish you a great October, and appreciate the opportunity tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saltzman. That takes us to section 8.0, board comments. I'm going to begin with Student Representative Dewing.
Yeah, so at Cascade High School, there's been like a lot of changes in the works. And so one of the big things that's come up is the Student Health Center, which is like up and running now, and it provides free healthcare services to students regardless of like insurance status. So it's been really great. It's a really great resource. And a lot of students currently, information isn't super widespread because it just started up. And so a lot of students don't totally know everything about all the resources, including myself. I'm still learning about how it can be used, but it's been great to kind of see that startup, and I think it'll be a great resource in the future, long term. So I'm excited for that.
Thank you. Everett Rubius.
So my report's pretty brief, but basically what we've had a lot going on is the FAFSA scholarships. We've had Sarah from the district come and help us, and it's incredible how helpful she's been. And another thing that I've found very interesting is from all 12 years I've been in high school, not high school, but school, this is the first year I get to be a part of the Day of the Dead, El Día de los Muertos, and I'm super excited because I've never actually seen it be incorporated in school, and I can't wait for it.
Very cool. Dr. Lawrence.
On Friday, I attended a fundraiser for Cocoon House, 20 years with an evening in silk. It was a great event, great community support. Cocoon House works with young people, families, and the community to break the cycle of homelessness through outreach, housing, prevention, education, and employment. It was a great evening. Thank you.
Director Ovalinsky.
Okay, so first of all, I feel like no one can know all of the programs and stuff in school, in all our schools. My family is hosting a German student under the GAP program, which has been incredible. I've been like picking her brain about education in Germany. Did you know they don't have school buses? All those kids have to like ride their bikes miles to school. Anyway, so other than that, yeah, it is kind of like fundraising season. I attended 2 fundraising events that, really highlight how our community rallies around youth. The Boys and Girls Club Reach for the Stars and the YMCA for Future Leaders program. Each, features a student whose success story shows the power of caring adults and strong programs, and it's always nice to spend time with people who care about youngsters. Much more importantly than that, though, is I had the pleasure of attending the instructional review at Eisenhower Middle School. This was maybe my 5th or 6th IR, and every time I feel like I learned something new. What made this one stand out was classrooms were using the same curriculum and almost the same lesson. That made like little differences really stand out to me, who I'm not an educational expert. I joined Dr. Boughton and Assistant Principal Mr. Schmidt to observe 4 English classrooms for a few minutes each, and I'm amazed at how much our educational experts can glean from these short observations in classrooms. Afterwards, back in the library, I saw the feedback loop in action. Building and district administrators were comparing notes, speaking about what they saw, and connecting it to bigger patterns in instruction and systems. And it's like taking the temperature of a school in real time. We also had a philosophical conversation about teacher autonomy, how to balance the creativity and professional judgment teachers bring with the need for consistency across the district. At the center of that, of course, is the relationship between teachers and their students, knowing where each student is and what they need to be successful. It's not an easy balance to strike, but when I consider our district students' achievement results, I can only deduce that we're getting the balance just about right. That's all I got.
Thank you. Director Herman.
Thanks so much. Director Everlinski, I just have to laugh. My daughter took 3 years of Chinese, and when they did a cultural exchange with video, the students were asking our Jackson Chinese students, is it true you have yellow school buses in America? I think they didn't believe that was a myth, that we have big yellow buses that take kids to school. So so for me tonight, I just want to congratulate Carter, Evelyn, Claire, and Tristan. Just love celebrating the core champions, and a reminder that role models exist in our schools and are not just adults. So that school community is built by all of us. And regarding instructional reviews, I get to do my first one tomorrow at Mill Creek Elementary, and I do think that process, as you're saying, is really key to some of our success and alignment of all of the instructional practices. So looking forward to that.
And I'll just continue with the busing, that I did not have a school bus and had to walk or ride my bike literally 2 miles each way. Flat, there's no uphill or snow. But anyway, I too enjoyed the Cocoon House event, but I will say it was a bit complicated by a Mariners game that went on for 15 innings with an eventual win, but they were very gracious and auctioned off the TV coming on for $100, which I'm pretty sure if they had gone 100, 200, 300, 400, they could have probably gotten a little bit more money, or a lot more money. But anyway, I would also like to thank, because tonight on our agenda is our bond and levy proposals, but the community that came together on the community's behalf to really evaluate the district, the buildings, what was needed, really gave their time to this district, some who are employed by the district, some who are parents of the district, some who are community members that care about this district, which I'm just forever thankful for their time and efforts, and just really, really, truly, and wholly appreciate it. So exciting times tonight. So that takes us on to board comment. I think we have one board comment tonight. Audience comment, sorry, thank you. This moves on to public comment. We have one request for public comment tonight. I appreciate that. I was so excited about what's coming up next. The school board sets aside 15 minutes during regular board meetings to hear from our constituents. We do this because we value public input and want to hear and understand the perspectives you bring to the table. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. As board president, I have the responsibility to ensure that our board meetings, we conduct business in public. We do this in an orderly, productive, and respectful manner. We welcome ideas and opinions presented in that same manner. Thank you for helping me with that responsibility. The entire board welcomes you to this public meeting. So for our one person, it is important that you understand this portion of the board meeting. I will call you to the podium to speak when I'm finished with these 3 points. All comments are recorded, so the board will have access to everything you say tonight. And the public comment is a time for the board to listen to what you have to say and not for a time of debate or discussion. Board members do not respond to individual comments. So I have with us tonight Amber Bueller, who is an employee and parent of the district who would like to speak about the upcoming bond and levy. Ms. Bueller, if you can please come up to the podium. And eventually a green light will come on. There's 3 little buttons on your right-hand side of the top of the podium that are sort of egg-shaped, half egg-shaped. Green means you have 3 minutes, yellow means you have 30 seconds, red means I have to politely cut you off. As soon as the green light comes on, you can begin.
Great, thank you. Well, hello, everybody. Dr. Saltzman, the board, student reps. Most of you guys know me, but for anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Amber Bueller. I had the privilege of serving on the most recent Capital Bond Planning Committee. But more than that, I come before all of you today wearing many hats. My PTA mom of 3 students currently attending school in our district. My husband and I both work for the district. We are very proud staff members. And as a child, I went all through Everett Public Schools. And at the risk of aging myself, I will say my class was the 2nd graduating class of Jackson High School in 1999. But I'm here today as someone deeply invested in the future of our students, our schools, and our community. The Bond Planning Committee worked hard reviewing data, touring buildings, listening to teachers, parents, community members, and admin so that we could develop a plan that is both fiscally responsible and deeply needed. What we saw during our work was very clear. We have aging facilities, overcrowding, lots of portables, room for safety improvements, and in some schools, infrastructure that is no longer keeping pace. When students feel safe and learn in well-maintained and modern spaces, their engagement improves and attendance increases, test scores rise, and educators, who are the heart of our schools, are better able to do what they do best, teach. Bonds are an investment in safer buildings, upgraded classrooms, energy-efficient systems that reduce long-term costs, an investment in the future of our children, and by extension, in the future of our entire community. Strong schools make strong communities. Home values increase, local businesses thrive, families want to stay and move here because they see a community that cares about its future. This bond that will be in front of you tonight will be the tool that we all have to make all of this happen. So I stand here tonight asking all of us, the community, to unite in getting this bond on the ballot and rallying our community for support. And not just for the plan, the Bond Planning Committee carefully crafted, but for the students that it is designed to serve. So let's give our kids the safe, modern schools that they need to thrive. Let's show our commitment to public education in action and not just in words. Thank you. And because I have a few seconds left, haha. I'm just going to say thank you all so much for everything that you do. I will not cry, but my kids, this is our third year back in Everett School District. All three of my children are thriving and doing so well. My daughter's actually going to graduate high school. She's a junior at Everett High School. I never in a million years thought she was going to graduate, and she is, and it's so amazing. I love my job every day. I'm so happy that I get to work at North, and so I just want to thank you all for all the hard work and dedication that you've put in.
Thank you so very much. And that takes us on to legislative updates. Director Revelinsky.
Yes. Last Thursday, I think it was last Thursday, I submitted our top 10 legislative priorities to WASDA for this year. And to be quite honest, they haven't changed much. We want WASDA focusing on things that directly affect students and the long-term health of public education. That includes special education funding, staffing levels, and MSOC, as well as support for early learning, enrichment programs, and modern school facilities. We're also asking for WASDA to advocate for safe, healthy buildings, district budgets, and continuing to seek state funding reform.
Thank you. That takes us on to section 12.0, strategic progress monitoring. Tonight we have the post-secondary enrollment pattern. Gosh, you're right, I skipped all the way ahead. So that takes us to section 11.0, consent agenda. Dr. Saltzman, have you received any questions about the consent agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the case of this consent agenda, the Superintendent's Office received no questions regarding items on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. First, does any director wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and place it into the new business section of the agenda? Seeing none, is there any objection to adopting the consent agenda by general consent? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved by general consent. Now we are at section 12.0, strategic progress monitoring, where we have one item tonight, the post-secondary enrollment patterns. Dr. Willard.
All right, good evening. Board President Mitchell, Board of Directors, student representatives, and Dr. Saltzman. I'm really excited to be here tonight to share with you our annual report on the post-secondary enrollment patterns. So we'll get to see where our students have gone to school in their first year after graduating from us. So this evening, be able to share with you post-secondary aspirations of our students, also comparisons of post-secondary enrollment rates for the classes of 2010 through 2023, and then also share the patterns of post-secondary enrollment for the class of 2023, so we'll look really closely at that particular class. I'll be able to share with you a report on the FAFSA completion rates, and then describe some of our systems of support. So with that, really focus this evening on reducing gaps in achievement between groups of students, and then of course ensuring students are prepared to succeed in college and career. So it's not just our goal, but of course the goal of the state that all adults have post-secondary outcomes, and the goal of the state is that 70% of our adults would have a post-secondary credential or a diploma of some kind from a post-secondary institution. So mapping to that kind of aspiration, they are looking very closely at survey data, and it looks a lot like the survey data we might get. So when they look at statewide data, 90% of surveyed high school students say that they want to go on to some kind of post-secondary pursuit. And so that's part of the storyline, is that our kids really want to go on, kids across the state want to go on to some other kind of form of education. And then 55% of the students who graduate in Washington State go on to a post-secondary institution in their first year, and that's lower than what we see across the nation at 62%, and we'll hold that number for a second, because 62% is exactly the rate at which our students go, and it's about that rate over many years. And then finally, just looking across the state, we've actually seen some real improvements when it comes to the FAFSA. And the reason that the FAFSA is so important, heard a little bit about it from one of our wonderful student reps this evening, is that not only does it provide financial aid, but actually it becomes a leading indicator to know whether students are going to go ahead and enroll in their post-secondary choice. So our state has changed from the previous year at 42nd across the country to 36th. And this is for the class of 2023. So with that, we'll move into some of our own data. So the data that we'll share this evening about our own students in the class of 2023 really comes from ERDC. So that stands for the Education Research and Data Center. This is statewide data that's collected and put together that tells us the outcomes, what happens after students graduate. We also use our own resources in terms of the National Student Clearinghouse. And then we also have self-reported data that we are able to pull from Navient, which is where students complete their high school and beyond plan and also tell us where they're going to attend. And then we also work in partnership with an organization called Equal Opportunity Schools, helps us support students in making choices to enroll in advanced placement, college and the high school, Running Start, any of our advanced options, but they also share with us data that students provide to them. Our data is delayed, so you wonder why 2023, why not 2025? They just graduated. Well, it takes about a year or so for the post-secondary institutions to actually see all students join their institutions, so that's a full year, and then the following year, so it's about 2 years worth of data, is when they're able to actually pull that data together and put it in a form that can be shared. So it's about a 2-year delay. This is actually pretty fresh data that we received. And then also we have very current data on the FAFSA. We have a portal, we can pull data any day. We usually pull it every week so we can find out where students are and follow up with them when they need support. So with that, because we survey students every fall as part of our partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools, we have survey data for about 12 years back that shows that our students, much like the state's data, are interested in going on to some kind of post-secondary credential. And it varies from year to year by a little bit, but largely looks much like the state at about 90% as the overall average. And in fact, the patterns you see here are very clearly what the state sees when they look at their data as well. So our kids really want to go on, and we're here to support them. Looking at our post-secondary enrollment rates, the top line, the dark blue line, is our district's rate. You can see we've been fairly steady in the low to mid 60% for many years. There were years after the pandemic where we were very concerned that students were going to go on. And what we saw, because there was a high level of support, is our students still continued to go on. We did not see the dips that you might have seen in the state, which is the lower line that's in green. And then also there were changes to the FAFSA. I'll share that later, that also we believed were going to be impactful to students choosing to go on to a post-secondary institution. And what you see there is that even through those changes, with the high level of support that takes place, that we see students going on and making those choices. I should also mention that this data kind of hides the real numbers of students that go on, because what's not really here is this is based on the number of graduates. And though this isn't a presentation on graduating kids, it's always the underlying piece of this. For every single one of these years, we saw more graduates with each successive year. So even though it's a percentage, what we're really seeing is a larger number of students over these many years that go on and go to a post-secondary institution. So we see some familiar patterns. So over the many years that we've been collecting and sharing this data, what we see is that students in our district actually stay in state. We are nested in a community of lots of different options for students. Everything from UW-Bothell that's south of us, Everett Community College, clearly in our community, Edmonds, UW-Seattle, Western's not too far away, but our state having very great programs. Our students stay in state, even more so than you might see across the state at a little lower level, but it's representing all the different places that students live and their access to different institutions. I want to spend a moment on this slide because there's a lot of different pieces going on here. This is a pie that represents all the kids that went on in the class of 2023 to a post-secondary institution. So it does not include any kids that did not go on. And what we would have seen a few years ago is that this pie would have been divided in half. About 50% of our students would have gone on to community and technical programs, two-year colleges. What you're seeing here is for the class of 2023 that 42%, not 50%, of students are going on to community and technical and two-year colleges. And then the other half of this pie are the students, the percentage that go on to four-year institutions. And what you see there is it's at a rate of 58% for the class of 2023. So what we're seeing here is a 3% increase from the class of 2022. And then actually, last year's presentation, because I share this each year, there was also a 3% increase. So within 2 years, we saw a 6% increase, a swing, so that our pie chart no longer looked about 50-50, but actually more students going on to four-year institutions. And we have lots of things that go into that. Of course, high support, sharing options, but what you're going to hear me share later is that we have a guaranteed admission program that actually helps students see right away that they're admitted to one of our four-year institutions in the state, and that all they have to do is apply and they will be admitted, because we've already decided based on the criteria they gave us. My department actually does this in conjunction with the schools. We identify the students who meet that criteria, we submit it, and then students receive letters very recently. Maybe somebody got a letter, some emails that are going out right now from all of those institutions saying, you're already admitted, all you have to do is apply. So great shifts going on there. And so it's a change in pattern, though we see some level data. When we look overall, there's a lot of things kind of hidden and tucked behind that data. And then further on this slide, you can actually see how our data looks in terms of some of the larger enrollments for different colleges. So on the left-hand side, you'll see many of our community colleges in our community. On the right-hand side, you'll see our four-year institutions. I'd want to note that Everett Community College has always been our primary partner overall with about a quarter, and it's a little bit less in this round. And actually, the University of Washington exceeds, this is the first time I've seen that, exceeds the percentage at which we send kids compared to Everett Community College. So usually it was always up there, don't get me wrong, but this time just slightly exceeds it. So just a lot of data sitting within this one slide. So on to breaking apart the data. This is back to the students who are in the class of 2023 and went on to a post-secondary institution that could be 2-year, 4-year, and then also students who did not go. So you can see it from the bottom, 4-year, then the middle part of each bar is the 2-year, and the top in that yellow color is the not enrolled. And within that data, you can see some of those increases we see overall in terms of going on to 4-year institutions. So our Asian students, our Black students, and our white students, we saw grow in terms of going to 4-year institutions at a rate of 3%, 4% for our Black and African American students, and 3% for our white students. When you look at our data in terms of gender, you also see increases, students going more often to 4-year institutions. So our female students, 2% higher than the class of 2022 going on to 4-year institutions, and only a slight increase in terms of our male students. When we look at our overall program rates, what you see here is fairly level data, but tucked in here are our multilingual learner students, where we actually saw an increase, not necessarily in our 2-year rates, but actually in our 4-year rates. So in the 4-year rate for multilingual learner students, 4% more of students went on to those 4-year institutions. And yet the rest of the data is fairly level. So changes tucked within the data there. And then finally, we're always looking at GPA, because that's something that's actually used primarily by colleges when they're deciding on admissions. And it's definitely part of our guaranteed admission program is based on GPA. So 3.0 is often used as that threshold. So here we see similar rates to what we had seen in previous years. Of course, there's lots of different places that students go on when they choose to go on to something after graduation, and military enlistment is an important part of that. We can't collect information directly from the military, but what we do is we have students self-report, and that shows up in Naviance. what their plan is. And so for the class of 2023, we saw 28 students who self-reported that they were going on for military enlistment. This is very similar to previous years. There's about 5 students more, but this is a fairly small group of students. It's generally been in the mid-20s is what we see year over year. And here again, we see students showing up for the Air Force and Navy primarily, and the Marine Corps stands out in this one, sometimes a little lesser in previous years. Want to switch to the FAFSA completion rates. I shared a little bit. Our FAFSA, of course, does a lot of different things. Primarily, it provides an estimate of the financial aid that will be provided to a family when a student enrolls in a college, and a package is put together by that college based on the information in the FAFSA. But what it also does is it tells us whether a student is planning to go to college. Certainly, many families do not fill out the FAFSA, and still kids go on to college, so it doesn't tell us everything. But most often, it tells us, and the research tells us, that if a student completes the FAFSA, they are very likely to go on and enroll in a college the year after they graduate from us. So we use that as leading indicator, and we make sure that we provide lots of support. We're out in the schools. Sarah Pewitt, who is our High School and Beyond facilitator, navigates alongside our career specialists, our college and career readiness seminar teachers, our counselors, many others who help support students in completing the FAFSA application. We'll have many FAFSA nights coming up here soon. They're embedded also in our High School and Beyond nights, but also separately. So what we saw for last year is that we saw a slight increase from the previous year of 2024. I mentioned, and it was a big deal for a little bit, that for the class of 2024, there were huge changes. The FAFSA changed entirely, and there were many technical difficulties. They worked through some of those, and so that was really helpful for last year. I want to mention that this year, the FAFSA launched without a hitch, actually before October 1st, which is when it's supposed to launch. And actually, the feedback has been that it's been very easy, very straightforward, and all of the difficulties they actually kept in mind and made the modifications to the actual tool. So this is a story of success. It took 2 years, but here we're seeing that students and families are having a much easier time. So we're tracking that data live. We don't have it to share with you tonight, but we're hoping to see increases again more to our former rates. When we talk about graduation, what we're really talking about is a layer of high school and beyond plan, specific credits in different subject areas, and then also the graduation pathway options. All of these are exactly aligned with being ready for a post-secondary option. So when students complete these, they're essentially completing what we call the college academic distribution requirements. That's what the colleges require for entrance into their different institutions. So these are very much aligned. So they're interchangeable. Largely the choices students are making when they take their courses and take on these tasks is they are matching requirements for college entrance. And then they're also planning, as the High School and Beyond plan indicates. Students are planning for what it is that they want to do when they leave us. One of the unique requirements that we have in our district is the College and Career Readiness Seminar. So this is a class that we require our seniors to take that allows us to do a lot of support, largely in 2 areas. One is around post-secondary plans, and the other has been around financial literacy. And that really came from feedback from students over the years who often were telling us, I wish I knew more about taxes, spending, investing, many topics that we're able to tap into in their senior year. If students don't take that course, they could take a course equivalency. Maybe they're in AP Research, maybe they're in to Intro to Education. Those are options where students complete some of the same requirements and get guidance from their teacher around those. So embedded in this particular course is also one of the graduation requirements, which is this performance-based pathway portfolio, which exactly nests with all of the things that I just mentioned. So one part is the English language arts pathway requirement, which has units on the career research, students looking deeply at what they want to do in their life, and some ideas around that. They actually choose 3 and then they pursue researching that. What education and training would they need to do to get to those careers? So that's the next step. And then what does financial aid look like? And then how to go about seeking employment. So all of those are nested together. Students research that, and that's part of their pathway requirement. And then also the math pathway is financial literacy, aligned to all of this. Spending and saving, making sure we're really addressing what students might need to know when they leave us. Credit and debt, concepts about credit scores, what it means to have debt. What's good debt? What's maybe debt that you might want to work away from? And what does beginnings of investing language, words that will matter so that you have an idea of that future plan? So we spent a lot of time working in schools, making sure kids have plans, but we do this with families as well. Sorry. During our high school and beyond events, which actually we had one at Cascade at the end of September as part of their curriculum night 2. If you went to the gym, we saw colleges, universities, we saw community organizations and trade organizations all show up there. And it was an opportunity for family students to look around, talk, get some ideas, and then head to maybe their teacher's class and do all of those things. One-stop shop. Jackson High School, tomorrow night, a big event. You'll see their gym. You'll see some sessions. You'll see some popular names and faces giving seminars on FAFSA or how to do your application, maybe some other key information, always very well attended. And then Everett High has a really unique one because it takes place during the school day, the same idea, but all students go through, they get a turn, they walk through, they get ideas, they have conversations, and then also families can come in the middle of the day, and then our students from Sequoia can also join, and they get a chance to talk to all the tables and get some ideas as well. And so we provide childcare, interpreter services are there as well. I've been highlighting because it showed up in our data where we have many more students going on to four-year institutions, but it's hard to uncouple this from our guaranteed admission programs. So we essentially have 3 different programs that are happening. One is for our Washington Public Schools, which are listed there. There are 6 of them. And then we have 2 separate other agreements. One is for Pacific Lutheran, which has a 3.3 GPA as its baseline, whereas the others are at 3.0 GPA. And then we also have a separate agreement for St. Martin's University. So within there, what you see is that students, we screen, we use the data, those course requirements, the GPA of a 3.0 or 3.3 when it comes to Pacific Lutheran, and we share that data. And what we're trying to do is get out of the mystery of whether or not you're going to be accepted or not. And the hope, I guess it's a theory of action, is if you're not worried about getting in anymore, maybe you're really going to apply and you're going to make that choice. So, and what we've seen is we've seen kids pivot perhaps from 2-year, which are really great institutions too, to making the 4-year choice because they can see themselves and because it's available to them. So they also communicate. That's another piece of what guaranteed admission programs do, sharing different options for students. And what we're seeing is a similar percentage, this is the actual number, but a similar percentage of students from the previous year who actually met the requirements. So this has been an exciting turn for this is our 3rd year, we're in a pilot year, and then these are the last 2 years where we've had full implementation. And with that, another opportunity we've had as a district is being part of the Limitless Learning Network, which was actually a network put together by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And what it's done is there's 26 different partnerships that have joined together, and they identified district schools that had formed partnerships. Ours in particular is with the Everett Community College and the College Success Foundation, and we meet a lot. And the biggest benefit for us is networking and finding out different ways that different schools, different organizations, different community colleges or colleges are actually doing the very same work that we are doing, maybe taking a different tact and getting ideas. Those are priceless. We do receive a small sum of money. It largely pays for our FAFSA events, some field trips, especially to Everett Community College, so that students have access, they can see it with their own eyes and really be able to identify whether that's really the plan that they want to take. So with that, some of our next steps. It's FAFSA season. So it opened prior to October 1st, and we're working the list, making sure that kids have support. Dollars for Donuts was the event at Sequoia over the last few weeks, so we've been pulling kids in, but we've had lots of other lunch. After school, we'll have evening events. One of the things that we'll be talking about later in the year is really that we're going to be launching a change in our high school and beyond plan platform. We've had Naviance now for 12 years. We're going to move to our universal platform for the state, which is SchoolLink. So we're working on that. And that will drive some of the data that we receive as well in future future presentations. And then we continue to strengthen our partnerships, Everett Community College, of course, but any of our local colleges and universities, we work in partnership with them. And then we are always trying to increase our early and ongoing communication with students and families to make sure that they're aware of all of their options. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I see
Yeah.
that Director Atkins has joined us, so welcome. And so we'll begin with any board or student comments. Anyone want to begin? I see a smile from Student Representative Covarrubias.
Hi, so I'm in the CCRS right now, and I really do love it. Right now, it's so informative. There's so much about everything in there, and I honestly don't think I would have learned any of it if I wasn't in that class. So I really do like that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's great to see students really get the time during their school day to work on the planning.
And also, dollars for donuts, I love that.
It's real.
I can also add, I'm currently taking AP Research, which counts as a CCRS credit too. And so, yeah, the kids in my class really, it's really interesting to learn about. And a lot of the time when my teacher's like, oh, today's a CCRS day, everybody's really excited. And so it's just fun to learn about. And it's just new information. It's really interesting.
Thank you.
Other comments? Yes, Director Herman.
Yeah, I've always loved the presentations with the data and hearing the feedback from the students on these components. School links in later on in the year, so
Yep.
students have been using Naviance now for years. So I'm actually excited that other districts have been doing this, and I'm excited for the state to have the data available for tracking the students there. But assuming, obviously, that won't interfere with the students that are already doing all their work this year in Naviance, it'll be a parallel, like a soft rollout in the spring.
Yeah, we'll be able to pull the data.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to keep
Okay.
Naviance through seniors this year graduating and into the fall in case they ask for
Okay.
transcripts or any of their
Yeah.
information. So we'll have that available. So we'll be working in two systems a little bit in the background to make sure that everybody's accounted for.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big lift to make a transition like that. Also excited what you were mentioning, gap and financial literacy. The increases, I think, goes really well with students also understanding those choices, whether it's a 2-year, 4-year, what makes the most sense and coming up with the right combination that works for them. It was interesting in the data. I was surprised in one of the slides that the 2-year community and technical colleges, regardless, that's actually a fairly consistent band of around the low to mid-20s
Yes.
between all groups. So that, while we saw variation in the others, I thought that was kind of interesting. Also noting that of the students are 62% that go on to post-secondary, 45% are between Everett Community College and UW. So those are sort of our bigger players, although
We
that
could have a pie
graph-
chart. They would be
Yeah.
half. I mean, that's really what that is.
That was really interesting. And I think then my last question is really the Education Research and Data Center, because that's a state organization. Are there attempts to track that 38% that don't go on to post-secondary? Are they looking, because that's the workforce component, and we wouldn't necessarily do that as a school district, but do you know, just in the
They
statewide
do.
discussions?
They actually have many reports that break
Okay.
apart what they understand about outcomes from workforce, except they still, it's not always like a through line. We can't get data that's student by student, but they can
Yeah.
see trends in terms of workforce, how much students get paid, if they have
Okay.
certain levels of education, which industries. They actually are doing a lot of work in that area.
Okay,
Yeah.
terrific. Well, thanks for all you do. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Questions?
Okay, one really quick one. On the pie chart with Everett Community College and the University of Washington,
Yes.
page 9, is that UW Seattle, or is
Yes,
that
that's UW Seattle.
Bothell, Tacoma, so on and so forth?
It's Seattle in this data.
Okay,
And
got
the
it.
other is Tech Done in the other 4-year. So we're seeing a lot of
Got
kids go to UW Seattle.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right.
Director Atkins, any questions?
Yeah, I was just curious if we had any data on the amount of students who went on to the Evergreen State College.
Actually, it was less than 1%. We do receive that data. And that's why it doesn't show up on this chart, because it's grouped once it gets below a certain percentage.
Yeah, and I think if a student was to see this and they had the right grade point average, of the kids going to college from this district, they've got almost a 1 in 4 chance of getting into the UW, or maybe 1 in 4.5 chance of getting into the UW.
Our students are doing very well.
Yeah, so my question is on slide 11, about the difference, and it's getting worse, girls and boys going to four-year universities. And I know for a long time, there was boys, then girls, but how do we get that closer to 50-50 if it should be at 50-50? I don't know, but how do we get it closer if it's supposed to be?
In terms of male to female?
Male
or
to female, just because that's a 10% change and looks to be getting worse. Of four-year universities.
We're seeing more kids go on to four-year in both categories. So that part is true. Very minimal when you look at it through the gender lens, because 2% and 1% are fairly level, truthfully. This has been consistent data, and it's actually very similar to the national data in terms of post-secondary enrollment. We are seeing more female students go on. So we are supporting students. I think that making sure that we're in a lot more of our CTE classes, a lot more of our classes where students who are male are not going on and maybe choosing workforce instead is one of the ways that we have been doing this, but keep going in to share the options that are available, especially around apprenticeships, different ways to get credentials that can get them to the career if that's really what they want to do in a more short-term manner. And right now, many of the community colleges actually have very short-term certificates or credentials that allow students to kind of work their way up or stack credentials more quickly. And so those are the things that we keep sharing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because I do like it when we're different. And so for just like the nation, how can we be different, especially with the 43% not going on? And so it is, how do we get to the boys where they are?
Yes.
That can make us different from the nation. So thank you so much. This is great data.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That takes us on to section 13.0, information discussion. There is none for this meeting, which then takes us to 14.0, unfinished business. We have two items tonight. The first is the approval of Resolution 1325, school construction and capital improvement bonds. Mr. Fleckenstein.
All right, good evening. President Mitchell, Board of Directors, student representatives, and Dr. Saltzman. Tonight it is my pleasure to present to the Board of Directors Resolution 1325. And tonight we're requesting that the board approve Resolution 1325 for a capital bond proposal in the amount of just under $400 million for placement on the February 10th, 2026 special election ballot. These bond funds would be specifically used for capital improvements to the district's educational facilities, which I will highlight those details in just one moment. Just contextually, earlier this evening, we heard from a community representative and member of the Capital Bond Planning Committee, Ms. Bueller, and she was very eloquent in her experience about the Capital Bond Planning Committee and a group of dedicated individuals that came together really over a 6-month period of time, taking a lot of time, energy, and effort to come up with a recommendation for what this next capital bond proposal would look like. And it's important to understand to our community and for everybody in the room that tonight is the culmination of 10 months so far of work just to get to this point where the board has the opportunity to approve of this resolution. And so for our public, the journey here was 29 community members, 4 high school students, and our district support staff over that time with 2 community engagement presentations in April and May. And that resulted in this particular proposal or bond package. And so you can see by category, there are several major projects that encapsulate the bulk of this particular bond. In new construction, we're looking to add Elementary 19 to address our overcrowding and over-enrollment, particularly in the southern portion of our district, and add elementary additional classrooms to our existing spaces. We are currently right now 2.5 elementaries worth of students in portables at the elementary level every day. That's 103 portables as we sit on October 14th. Modernizations of this bond package would include Cascade High School's Building 2. And if you're not familiar with the numbering system at Cascade High School, this is their cafeteria, library, and performing arts building that also includes instructional space and classrooms for other disciplines. It also would be a modernization, a full replacement of Lowell Elementary School, a brand new building for Lowell. And then Everett High School modernization of the vocational building. You may recall in past capital measures, we have done some renovations in the upper levels there, but the lower levels of that building and the exterior facade, windows and such, still require modernization. The program-related needs, this bond package would include a brand new building, not yet to exist, at Cascade High School for our CTE and choice programs. That would modernize the spaces that we are currently using for those district programs, but create a more modern environment for students to learn, expanding access to all high school students within our district to that particular program. Safety and security upgrades are always important on any capital project that we bring towards to the board for consideration and to our voters. This particular bond would support the intrusion detection integration system district-wide, and that is joining our alarm system, our fire system, and our security system and cameras together into one integrated package, and then expanding our security systems to monitor more square footage of our campuses. Site improvements, we have currently at the middle level 1 synthetic field for our community and our students to use. This would expand to 2 other middle schools to create more equitable access and distribution across the district for use. As our youth programs are expanding here in Snohomish County, we want to make sure that our kids have the ability in every area of our district to access high-quality facilities and fields. It would also support the playground equipment replacement at 4 of our elementaries, which are on our annual cycle. And then, of course, we have to continue to maintain the community's investment in our buildings that are already there. So replacing roofs, HVAC, heating and cooling systems, purchase additional portables to remove aged out portables that are now falling into, have run its course of its average life expectancy is the best way to put it. Demolishing those aged portables, and then supporting Clean Buildings Act, which is a state mandate for our schools. And then finally, technology infrastructure upgrades. And it gets into a lot of technology words that I don't know, but I'll just tell you this. It's all the stuff that makes the technology work as a system. So we need to update those as well. And so the total here, like I said, is just under $400 million. And so at this time, I would ask President Mitchell and the board for their approval of Resolution 1325, School Construction and Capital Improvement Bonds.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the presentation you gave 2 weeks ago when I could not be here. So is there any discussion or questions? Yes, Director Herman.
Thanks so much for the past 10 months and beyond. I know this has been a long time coming. And I was talking to a community member over the weekend, and they were saying, boy, the schools are really overcrowded. And I said, well, February. So I just want to make sure this is what you said, to make sure I'm repeating it back correctly. We currently have 103 portables at the elementary schools in use.
That's correct.
Which is the equivalent of 2.5 elementary schools.
That's correct.
Of students. Okay. So thank you.
That does not include our secondary portables.
And that doesn't even talk about secondary.
Yeah.
No, I just appreciation. I also had come across some research recently that was shared in that webinar that I'd shared with some of you. Investing in HVAC systems, they've shown holding all else constant, increases test scores. Investing in track and field actually increases property values. So we have a mix here, and my confidence comes from Ms. Bueller and the team of that work that was done over the course of months in determining. And we've said before that we have, if money were no object, we'd have a wish list close to $1 billion.
We have $1 billion worth of needs, not just a wish,
That's-
but
yeah.
$1 billion worth of current needs in our facilities, yes.
So that those needs are out there. They had to determine priority and come up with this that we feel is the best package. And we're really hoping that when voters say we want to invest in our schools, that they will see the work that's been done in putting this together. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Director Atkins, anything?
Nothing from me.
Thank you so much. I just want to say too that just for the community, when I first started on the board decided the package. We would get the workshops, we would get the presentations, and we were always left feeling that, yes, the voters trust us with our decisions, but are we really making the right decisions for those who are going to vote for them? And so since we've started this community process, it has given me much more confidence, because for years we wanted a new high school. And the last time we did this, the community said, actually, so did we, but we realized it wasn't the best priority. And so reasonable people have brought us a reasonable package, and I really do appreciate that. Tonight we're going to do this is a traditional voting method, but I'm going to begin with Representative Dewing. So what you've heard in the past couple of weeks and being a student here in the district, do you think we should support the bond?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 1325, School Construction and Capital Improvements Bonds?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. So it has been moved by Director Lawrence and seconded by Director Adkins. Is there any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, all those in favor for approval of Resolution 1325, School Construction and Capital Improvement Bonds, respond by saying yes or yay? Yay?
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
Are there any opposed? No. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And that takes us to approval of Resolution 1326, 2026 renewal of expiring educational programs and operations levy. Oh, thank you. Ms. Tress.
Thank you, Dr. Saltzman, Board of Directors, Student Representative. Tonight, I'll be asking the board, the district is asking the board for approval of Resolution 1326, renewal of the expiring educational programs and operations levy. I want to highlight that a more detailed presentation was presented in the September 30th regular meeting, and so tonight's presentation will be a summarized version of that information that was presented. In addition, in tonight's agenda item, the detailed resolution is attached for everyone's reference. I want to highlight what the community, how the community supports us in funding for the district. We have three different sources of current funding supports from our community. One being our education levy, which we are asking the board to renew for this year. The other being our building and technology and capital levy, as well as the board just approving Resolution 1325, the school construction bonds, as an opportunity for funding and an opportunity for our community to support Everett Public Schools. I'm going to focus tonight on the education levy, as this is required to be renewed every 4 years. That funding supports enrichment programs and underfunded basic education programs, such as student transportation and special education. as we move forward, the education levy was reviewed by our Fiscal Advisory Council on September 25th and had community members, principals, students, staff, and association leaders. They had a lot of feedback around that levy information, and one thing they wanted to continue to support is that the district continue to communicate, is that the district communicates the needs of the district and how that levy supports the need of the district, and that they also communicated to us that presenting this information in the most streamlined fashion will help our community understand how the levy supports the district as a whole. I want to highlight how we put together the estimated levy rate for the district. There are many factors, and that factor includes the assessed value within the district. It includes inflationary rates. It also includes the district's overall enrollment as well. In addition, the levy is capped at the state legislative authority, and so we can only collect what the state allows us to collect. We use assumptions that give us capacity to collect what that levy authority is set by the state. The rates here kind of represent the three different community structures that the community provides us here. And so those are the rates that we're presenting for estimated the 27, 28, 29, and then the 23rd calendar year. I do want to note that those new bond rates support more building improvements but are offset by lower capital levy rates in future years. When we look at this as a whole, over historically as what we are estimating in the future, we are estimating the ability to reestablish a stable tax rate. This estimate is lower than what was estimated in the 2022 education levy that was approved by the community in 2022. As well as the estimated tax rate is lower than the 10-year historical average for the district at this moment in time. So tonight, I will ask the board to approve Resolution 1326, and in doing so, the next steps will be to, if they do approve this resolution, we will submit this information to OSPI for authorization, and then submit that to the county, and ultimately have some community events throughout the district and to be submitted for Election Day in February. So I leave that to you, board. The request is that you approve Resolution 1326, the renewal of the expiring educational programs and operations levy.
Thank you so much, and it was a great presentation you gave. Is there any discussion or questions? Director Atkins?
None for me.
Thank you. Yeah, usually levies are pretty important for us just to move forwards. But again, Senior Representative Dewing, how do you think we should support this levy?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I asked that weirdly. I apologize. Is there a motion for approval of the Resolution 1326, the 2026 renewal of expiring educational programs and operational levy?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Director Atkins and seconded by Director Rovolinski. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none. For those in favor of the motion for approval of Resolution 1326, the 2026 renewal of expiring educational programs and operational levies, respond by saying yes or yay. Yes?
Yes.
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 All those,
Yes.
Director, I'm sorry. I make sure. All those opposed, no? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you so much. And that takes us on to 15.01, approval of Resolution 1329 to support passage of capital bond and replacement levy for educational programs and operations propositions. Mr. Fleckenstein.
All right. President Mitchell, Dr. Saltzman, Board of Directors and Student Representative. Tonight, I'm here to present with you Resolution 1329 to support the passage of capital bond and renewal of expiring educational programs and operations propositions. Earlier tonight, the board has approved two resolutions, 1325 and 1326, which actually present and have approved what will be on the ballot and the description to our voters in February. This particular resolution, and if I were to just scroll down through all the parts that you've already done tonight, really gets to the end here, which is the last whereas here, that the board has determined to declare its support for the passage of Proposition Number 1 and Proposition Number 2 at the February 10th, 2026 special election by adopting this resolution. This particular resolution embodies all the work that you have directed staff to do, but also your commitment to this particular resolution to support both the capital bond and its operations levy. So I present it to you for your approval tonight and its passage. Thank you.
Thank you. I do appreciate that we do this because it lets us go out there publicly, not from up here, but publicly as we talk to constituents. Even though the district's hands in buildings is still, all of our hands are tied, we can say, please vote, which is nonpartisan, non-item, but in the community does give us a voice, how we ever choose to use it. So is there any discussion or questions?
Point of privilege,
Yes,
Madam
please.
Chair. Just for the public, Ms. Tress, it does not raise any taxes, am I correct? With the numbers?
It does increase the tax rate, but it reestablishes a rate that is lower than what was estimated for the 2022 levy and lower than our historical average. And it's at 30 cents.
I just want the public to hear that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so seeing no discussion, I'm asking one last time, Ms. Dewing, do you think we should be able to speak publicly about this?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion to approve the resolution 1329 to support passage of capital bonds and replacement levy for educational programs and operations propositions?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Director Atkins and seconded by Director Lawrence. Is there any additional comment, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion for the approval of Resolution 1329 to support passage of capital bond and replacement levy for educational programs and operational propositions, respond by saying yes or yay. Yes.
Aye.
Or
Yes.
aye. I appreciate that. All those opposed, no. Are there any abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you. It's a good day. That takes us to section 16.0, upcoming agenda items. Dr. Saltzman, what is planned for upcoming meetings?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and to the public this evening, to our student reps. At the October 21st special meeting, the Board General will participate in an International Baccalaureate Program Update Board Study Session. I can assure you it'll be very exciting and very informative for our community. At our regular meeting on October 28th, the Board Agenda will contain the following: a technology plan update, fall spotlight presentation on the system impact of learning improvement days, the TBIP grant, the Northwest School for Deaf and Hearing Children sole source and contract, and instructional library surplus. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Tonight, that takes us to section 17.0, executive or closed session. There is none for this meeting. That takes us to section 18.0, adjournment. This concludes the October 14, 2025 regular meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors. The meeting is now adjourned.